Hello everyone, this is Mumbo and welcome back to another episode on the Hermitcraft server. It's episode 83 and today I am going to be returning back to rainy old England from California. At the time of release of this video, I will have returned from LA, I will be back from Minecon. Hopefully I've had a fantastic time and hopefully I've met all of you guys and just had brilliant fun with all of the hermits and meeting up with all of the YouTubers and everything like that. But on the time this video releases, I will probably be either on my way back from the airport or just sat at home horrendously jet lagged. I mean, seriously, jet lag affects me really quite badly. I don't sleep particularly well as per usual because of all the YouTube things that I do and the fact that I spend most of my nights editing. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be pretty tough to stay awake and I'm probably going to struggle quite a bit. But, oh my word, this guy's really brutal. But in today's episode of Hermitcraft, we are going to be doing something slightly different, okay? Because, of course, I'm pre-recording all of these videos before I leave for LA. One fun thing that I thought would be cool to do is to take a look at all of the builds that I've done on the Hermitcraft server in order. So I can show you everything that I've done from start to finish, and we'll take a look at all of the progress that I've made over the 83 episodes that I've recorded on here. Now, I must admit, I'm trying my best to get a little bit of help with this one because I don't want to get anything wrong, so I am currently looking at the Hermitcraft playlist, and I will put a link to that playlist down in the description if you fancy watching every single episode of Hermitcraft I've ever recorded, because, well, you know, you might have lots of spare time on your hands. But I believe the first project that I did on the Hermitcraft server is somewhere around about here. Yes, it still stands, the entrance is still there. This is the community mineshaft that I built in episode 1 on the Hermitcraft server, and it goes right the way down, and it goes down, and it used to go further, but then Impulse SV decided, hey, I like the thought of building a base right here, so I'm going to chuck in a villager farm, which is cool. I mean, this is considerably better than my mineshaft. I completely understand that he took it out because nobody else was using it, but it used to travel down like that, and then off down to the bottom, and I seem to remember it had quite a cool design down in the tunnel as well. It's just a shame we can't get access to it. After that, I built the storage system, which is what you see right here, which I'm sure most of you recognise because it was only episode 80. Yes, only episode 80 that I actually ended up removing all the items from this and taking them up into the drone. That's embarrassing. That's 77 episodes that I spent using this tiny little storage system right here with absolutely no sorting. There's no sorting in this. It was just a free-for-all, all of the items in all of the chests. Awful. How did I live like that? I mean, I can't believe, how did I find anything? The truth is, I didn't used to be able to find anything. It was hellish. It was all over the place. So that's my sorting system. Then, of course, we've got my super smelters, which I recently got an improvement on those as well. Then, through over here, we have got my chicken farm, we have got my wheat, carrot, and potato farm, and then this is meant to be an armor equipper, I do believe, which I never really use too often, but I always like having them dotted around my base, and the chicken farm actually got dismantled by Iskal because, well, it was causing too much lag. We had hundreds upon hundreds of chickens in here, they were making lots of noise, they were laying lots of eggs, and they were causing a bit of a frame rate issue for all of the hermits in this area, so they had to be taken out. Then, of course, after that, we constructed the famous RV. Now, there have been a few complaints about this because there are some stunning builds in this area. We've got the Tango Tech Castle out the back there, just some really beautiful areas going on here. And then we have this, the trashy, really horrible looking RV, but that's sort of the point of it. That's what I was going for. I just thought I'd do something completely different. Obviously in Hermitcraft Series 3 we had the hot air balloon, which I personally loved, and it was like a really elegant looking build. I thought we'd come full circle and build something that looks slightly disgusting, but disgusting on purpose. It's not like I was trying to make it look good. This is meant to look pretty terrible. So we've got a really horrible garden going outside. We've got burning tires and burning bins and things. But the inside is really nice and homely. Look, we've got fridges, we've got an oven, we've got some nice work surfaces, some plants, some paintings, and just beds out the back. It's looking fairly lovely, okay? It's a homely little RV, even if it is a bit disgusting on the outside. But that was my spawn town base done. Then I started work on some stuff over in this area because this is when the log fellers were coming into action and they were stealing all of the saplings on the server. So I built this. This is my fully automatic tree farm. It breaks all of the leaves, it drops all of the saplings, and it's really, really efficient. All you have to do is switch it on, the bone meal dispensers start dispensing, all of the trees grow, and then when they grow to the end, all of these pistons extend and they break all the leaves, and yeah, it works like an absolute charm. And within probably a day, maybe 2 days of me building this, it was disabled by the log fellers. It never came back into action. Nobody ever used it again. It's been sat here just completely unused for, well, around about 80 episodes, which is a bit of a shame because I really quite like this design. But it did allow me to create the Super Secret Sapling Society, which unfortunately doesn't exist anymore, but we're going to head over to that spot. So this right here is where it used to be. Now, I have since replaced it with the casino that I built in the shopping district, but this is where it used to be, and it was like a super secure system where we had different combination looks. I think we had a card reader system, we had a 3x3 piston door, we had a cleansing system, and a lever combination lock all to get inside so that you could access all of the saplings, and so the log fellas, which are based over there, wouldn't be able to get them. Now, times has changed. I now absolutely love the log fellas because of course they provide me with most of my wood, but this casino is now in its place, and I actually just want to check, how well is the casino doing? Do we have plenty of diamonds down on the bottom here? Are we making a profit from this thing? Yes, we are. We're rich! We're filthy stinking rich! That's amazing! We've gained about 15 diamonds over the past couple of weeks. Awesome! 3 diamonds for me! Now I've actually just quickly popped into my second account that's in spectator mode because I then built a treasure hunt and I want to see if I can find them, and there it is! There is the little treasure hunt hole. These are the little rooms that I constructed down under the ground, and I placed in riddles. One of them is rubbish, it just has this inside, and the other one had all of the treasure in it, and I believe False Symmetry actually managed to find it before I released my episode on it, which was really quite impressive, but I think it was somewhere over here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this thing, but that was a really fun project. I might do another one of those actually. Then, after all that messing around, I finally started work on my base. Now, the reason that it took around about 11, 12 episodes is because I had no idea what I wanted my base to be. I had absolutely no clue what style I was going for. I had absolutely no idea what blocks I was going to be using, or if I wanted to be up in the sky or down on the floor. Had no clue, but I knew that I wanted to be in this area over here, and I knew that I wanted to build my mob farm, which was the first thing that I did. The first thing I did is just I constructed that mob farm right there, and that has been here since episode 11 of Hermitcraft, and then the next thing that came in place was the killing platform, and then we built the halo. This was known as the halo at the time, and this was the only one that I was going to have. I was literally just going to have this ring, that was it. And then in the next episode, I thought to myself, you know what would be cool? Is if I built myself an elevator that takes me up to the AFK platform, so we did all of that. But then I started thinking, well, maybe it would be nice to have another ring on the outside of the halo. So I added that in, then I was like, right, that's it. Okay, that's all I need. And then a couple episodes later, I thought to myself, you know what? Okay, maybe we should add in another set of rings. So this time, instead of doing the outer edge ring that you see right here, I placed in a few stairs up like this, and then I did the outer rings out there. So these big circles, I put those in place. So I had 4 of those massive circles on the outside, and then I thought to myself, well, why not build another circle going around like this? Now, I remember reading the comments on all of these episodes. A lot of people were getting quite bored of me building circles because, of course, I did all the ones on the inside, then I did all the ones on the outside here, then all of the 4 on the outside there, and then I built this massive one going through the outside, and that was all within around about 4 or 5 episodes, I do believe. I was messing around with this, and that was basically my plan for my base. I did it all quite quickly, and I'm so chuffed that I came up with that because it was totally on the fly. I had no idea this was my plan. I just built the mob spawner, I built the killing platform, then I thought, hey, it would be cool to do this, and then hey, it would be cool to do this, and eventually it ended up looking like the drone, which I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. At the time of making those videos, I was heavily into drone flying, so there could have been something there. Now, one thing that I will say is that when I was building all of my base and doing the elevators and everything like that, I was in the process of moving out of my house. We were having some problems with my recording schedules because my mum had left work. I was still recording from home. I couldn't record at home when my mum was in, which meant that I didn't really have too much recording time, which meant that the episodes were a little bit strange, and some of them I didn't have any recording time for particularly. I had like an hour and a half of actual recording time, which meant that progress was a little bit slow at that point in time. So then I built the storage system, and then I started work on the gigantic power beam, and that sort of worked for me because it meant that when I briefly got some recording time, I could just record a quick progress update clip, and then I could do some more work on it because it was a bit of a samey project. But we did 1 quarter, and then in the next episode, we did the other couple of quarters. But I have to say, designing that thing and creating the shape was really difficult. Why exactly did they not work then? could someone tell me why exactly sometimes my elytra just don't work? Because I'd love to know. But aside from that, the power beam was absolutely awesome, and it was such a cool idea. A lot of people didn't fully understand it, but the power beam was meant to be holding up my base from the bottom. Now, that doesn't really come across. I personally just think it looks like a really cool icicle now, but either way, it's a really nice formation. Following that, we built all the auto item sorters, we did some AFK, and we got loads and loads of items. We built the mob drop shop out of TNT, which was very stupid, so Exuma had to take it down. But then we started work on this area down here, which I actually haven't visited since I built it. This space. Now, the reason this space was difficult was because all of this land was all over the place, so we had to flatten all of it out, but also we had scaffolding blocks up the inside of the power beam going right the way up to the top. There were hundreds upon hundreds of them, and they were a real pain in the backside to clear out, but thankfully we managed to get it done, and this place is really awesome. Even if I never use it, and I never take a look at the inside, I'm still glad that it's here. And from there, the triple iron golem farm project was born. Now, I believe that previous episode that I mentioned where I built all of the stuff on the inside of the power beam was the last episode that I recorded when I was really heavily out of time. Now I was in my new house, I had plenty more time to record videos, and I built all 3 of the iron golem farms in one episode. I did all of the blocks and everything like that, which back in the day seemed like quite a lot of work. Nowadays it doesn't actually seem that much. But the main issue was I didn't actually have any villagers, and I had no idea how to get villagers. So I was doing research toward the end of that episode. I was planning on doing it, but I struggled quite a bit. So then in the next episode, I struggled even more. I struggled a lot. It took me hours upon hours to correct the correct villagers. If you haven't seen that episode before, I wouldn't suggest watching it because it really is very infuriating, but I ended up building a villager breeder somewhere off in this direction, just completely randomly, where all of my villagers were staying, which is a bit of an odd decision. So this is what remains of my villager breeder. This is it. This is all that's left. Unfortunately, it got dismantled, but this is where I delved into the world of villager breeding for the first time, and boy oh boy, was it very painful. But one thing I will say is that a zombie just came up to me, I killed it, and look at this insane bow that I just got. I should probably inform Exuma of this. Another thing that I quickly want to mention is I've currently got my render distance on extreme, and I love the fact that I can see the power beam poking up like that, and then we can see the drone off in the distance. I mean, look how insane that looks. It looks completely bonkers if you're asking me. I always forget how big my base is until you see it from a distance like this. It makes you realise this is pretty good going. The next projects that I started were organic golems, which went right here. It was just a big iron golem head. I eventually ended up removing it because, well, it didn't have any customers whatsoever. And then I started work on my TNT shop because, as I mentioned earlier on, my original TNT shop was far too explosive. It was covered in TNT all over the place, which is, yeah, it's a little bit dangerous, especially with how lethal this area is already. So what I did instead is I built this large bit of TNT, and if we take a look inside, it's got this crazy piston door, and also when you open up the chest, TNT is dispensed and it explodes. But by the look of things, I really need to refill my TNT dispenser. And yeah, no profits and no staff. I really need to restock this place. I'm terrible at that. Then we make our way back over to my base area because I constructed this thing. I started work on the Industrial Farms District. Now, the industrial area was something that I came up with to fit in all of my farms because, of course, I love building farms, but the drone, it didn't exactly lend itself to mass farming because, obviously, if you want to build massive farms up in the drone, it's probably going to end up looking a tiny bit ugly. So I created this space down at the bottom here. I mapped out the entire area, and then I got to work on it. Now, the first farm that I constructed, I'm going to see if I can remember the order here. I think the first thing that I did was I built my sugarcane farm. Now, this thing is absolutely enormous. It's a very big sugarcane farm. It involves a ton of slime blocks. It's got 2 high modules. I think, in fact, it's got 600 independent sugarcane inside the system. I seem to remember that as a title for one of the videos. And there is the hopper timer that controls it all. And at some point, all of these pistons are going to extend. They're going to send all of the sugarcane down into the water streams, and they'll make their way into the hopper. Now, the next thing that I think I worked on is, I believe it was this. Now, I built the villager breeder. We already had a villager breeder over here. I built a temporary one so that I could get villagers up into my iron golem farms. But then I ended up taking out that villager breeder and building another one over here. I've built 3 villager breeders on the Hermitcraft server, and this one doesn't work at all. As you can see, we've got a bit of an issue right here, and also we have got tons upon tons of villagers in this space over here. And that's despite the fact that I killed about 100 of them in the previous episode of Hermitcraft when I was trying my best to get some new trades. So that was the next thing that I worked on. Then I think I moved on from that and I built the villager trading station itself. So I did all of this stuff, and this took quite a long time. It was quite a fiddly project. Lots of things kept going wrong, but in the end it worked perfectly, sort of. I mean, you can see there's still a few slime problems. You've got a few villagers dotted around, and it's not 100% brilliant, but it works good enough for me, and this is definitely the heart of my base. This is what provides a reason for all of the farms that I build, because they give me lots of emeralds and also a ton of really awesome tools, enchantments, and other bits and bobs. I mean, I love villagers. I'd never worked with them before, and I'm so glad that I did, and it's definitely something that I'm going to do more of in the future. But then, after building that, I think I started work on this. Yeah, my pumpkin and melon farms. Now, at the time, I thought these things were awesome. Okay, I thought these were the designs to build, but unfortunately, despite the size of this project, I mean, we've got 8 different towers right here, all of them with pumpkins in now. It's not particularly efficient. So then I believe I headed off in this direction. I built my storage system, but it was only a small one. It was only the top level. And then I headed off over here. I started work on my auto carrots and potato farm, which goes on over here. So this thing is actually controlled by villagers. Inside, underneath here, we have got some villagers. And we've got a villager on one layer, and then underneath that we've got another layer. And it goes around, it harvests all of the carrots and potatoes, and then it tries its best to throw the carrots and potatoes at this villager, but it misses. They fall down to the bottom, land in the hopper, and make their way into the storage system. And then after that, I built this, which is my ridiculously efficient melon and pumpkin farm. It's designed by Ilmango, and it's just insane. It's just insane. And this is what has been overflowing my storage system for like the past couple months now. It's the cause of the ticking noise inside my base. It's awesomely efficient, if not a little bit too efficient. We built it twice as big as it needed to be as well, which is a bit crazy, but it's awesome. Seriously amazing. It was around about this stage where I thought to myself, maybe I should improve the size of my storage system. At the time, we had all of these different sections. That was the floor level. That second layer of glass right there, that was the floor level. And we only had one double chest. So we had chests facing in this direction. So we had 1 double chest, 2 double chests, 3 double chests, 4 double chests, 5 and 6. That was it. So we had 6 double chests of everything. That was it. And I went AFK for around about maybe 15 hours overnight. All of my double chests were filled with melons and pumpkins instantly. My sugarcane double chest was filled. It was just totally overflowing. So I thought to myself, maybe I should get a new storage system. And I spent ages mining out this area, chucking in all of the hoppers, placing in all of the chests, doing all of the glass. This was a really big project. And then doing the elevator. And it worked amazingly. I personally love this thing. And once again, we have actually filled up the storage system. I mean, I've been doing a little bit of trading recently, but the pumpkins go up to the top, all of our sugarcane goes up to the top, our carrots and potatoes go up to the top. We've got 36 double chests of all of those items there. And also we've got 36 double chests of eggs. I think we've got a bunch of roast chicken that's making its way up to around about this level here. We've got a bunch of wheat. I think that's coming up to around about this level down here. And then also just a ton of other items from all of the other farms. It's getting a bit silly now. After that, I built my ridiculous super smelter, which is extremely efficient. I think there's 16 modules in there. There's 16 different furnaces. When you place the items in, all of the furnaces turn on simultaneously. I put in a full inventory of sand, and it produced all of the glass extremely quickly. And now I've got pretty much an infinite supply of glass, at least for the time being. You can see I use quite a lot of the stuff. But after building that, I was a little bit tired of the industrial district, so I decided to start work on this project over here, which is the Batcave. Now, I have to say, I was going to show off the wonderful secret entrance, the secret input device that we have, but at the minute it doesn't seem to be working particularly well. But this is a 4x4 vault door running into the big cavern right here. And we built all of that, I believe, in one episode. And I have to say, the actual structure of the thing, I really like. We built all of the rings going around like this, and it ended up looking really cool. And then the next thing that we did was we built some wireless redstone that sends a signal down from the drone to this piston door right here, so I can send a signal down from the drone, then jump off with my elytra, fly through the door, and then the door will close behind me, which is really awesome. And I'm so glad that I worked on that project because I know a lot of you really enjoyed it. After that, I built the Batcave combat training system. Now this thing right here is based on Call of Duty, essentially. Do you remember in the old Call of Duty games when you first start the campaign, they have to be able to tell if you can shoot the guns and things, so you walk along and you have to shoot at targets, and the fastest time wins. That's basically what we were going for. So we have a timer out the back right here. You run through the pressure plate, you have to hit all of the redstone lamps with your bow and arrow, and then when you make it to the end, the timer stops timing, and you get a specific time for the combat training. Now, I'm the only person that's ever done this, and I think I got a half decent score. However, I don't really know because I'm not playing against anyone else. But if you take a look at the redstone, you can see it's actually quite complicated. I mean, we've got loads and loads of RS NOR latches. We've got lots of redstone lines running into those RS NOR latches that connect into the redstone lamps. I remember that taking ages. And they all run out into the AND gate, which will turn off when all of the RS NOR latches are turned on, which means our timer will stop timing. It's actually quite complicated, especially for something as silly as a combat training mechanism. After that, I did some highly efficient villager trading to get tons upon tons of emeralds. I think that's when I got around about 3 stacks of emerald blocks, which was pretty cool. And I also got a ton of enchantments and things, which was a really good episode to do because, of course, it just means that you completely replenish all of your supplies, you get loads of new villagers, and hopefully get loads of access to lots of cool enchantments. And I know I did that recently in the previous episode of Hermitcraft. But then after that, I decided to start work on my fully automatic wheat farm, which was the project from hell. It seriously was the project from hell. Everything went wrong that could possibly go wrong. It's still going wrong. It doesn't seem to be fully functional at this point in time. This guy still doesn't seem to want to pick up all of the wheat. I don't really know what to say with this one, to be honest with you. I really want it to work nicely, but at the minute I'm not feeling it because it's just such a stressful project for me. I don't really want to touch it. But this is the fully automatic wheat farm that I built. It's got mine carts going on underneath that pick up all of the wheat that's dropped on the floor. This guy needed an empty inventory to work because then you fill it up with seeds, which was just so difficult. And I spent hours upon hours trying to do that. And just looking back at that episode, I don't even want to think about it. So then we moved on from the automatic wheat farm. We completely left the industrial district. In fact, that's the last thing that I've done in the industrial district for ages. And we started work on the community builds area, which is this space over here. Now, the first thing that I did is I actually had to create the area itself. Now, it's a 64 by 64 space, which is pretty massive, and we ended up using basically stone slab blocks. So we've got all of the stone, we've got the stone bricks, we've got the stone slabs, and we've got the cobblestone, and it ended up looking like a gigantic stone slab, which took ages to build. I mean, this is a huge space, and we did all of the fences and everything like that, and it ended up looking like a big grey slab. But now that I've got a few builds in there, it's actually starting to look okay. Following that, we created this thing right here, which is the working spoon counter, which is 2 7-segment displays connected to this button. Every time I do something stupid, I hit that button, and then it adds another number to the spoon counter, which is a project that I personally loved, and I know that you guys really enjoyed as well. Then we did some base clearing up, basically getting everything back into ship shape because there were chests all over the place and everything was looking very messy indeed. Following that, we built the ridiculous cactus farm that is happening in this area over here. In the previous clip, I actually mentioned that the last farm I built was the wheat farm, but that isn't actually the case. I completely forgot about this thing, this wonderful little build right here, which this was the dream episode, come to think about it, because nothing went wrong, everything went smoothly, I came up with a design, it worked perfectly first time, I built everything a lot faster than I was expecting, and managed to get the whole thing done in one episode. All of it was done. We managed to connect it up to the sorting system. It was all completely finished. And actually, one thing that I've just remembered is that we've got the chicken farm and the egg farm. I can't remember when I built those, but it was somewhere between, I think it was between building the sorting system and this. However, I'm not 100% certain. I really can't remember when I built that chicken farm, but that also happened at some point as well. But then after building the cactus farm, I thought, we've been doing a lot of serious builds recently. Why don't we build some silly bits in the community builds area, which is what you've already seen. We've got the giant tooth, we've got the toilet, and also the really silly roller coaster. Now we're getting into the 70s of episodes, so these are really recent episodes. I'm sure quite a lot of you remember them. We've got the Batcave computer, and we've also got the Batmobile complete with redstone piston door right here. So that is the redstone entrance to get us into the Batmobile. And also, this computer actually works. Currently, it is showing a Mumbo face, but when we hit this button, everything should fire into action, and it should display something slightly different on the screen. So what's it going to say? It is going to say MJ. I mean, that's pretty cool. We've got a cool little thing on the screen right there. So that is the working Batcave computer. Then after that, we moved all of the items from my RV up into the drone, which was a long time coming. And then we started work on my biggest project yet. Now, this is something that we have done really recently. In fact, we finished it in the previous episode of Hermitcraft. But this thing right here, this guy right here with his cheeky grin, Oh my word, this was a lot of work. We had to do all of the redstone designing, we had to work out how it was going to build, then over the coming few episodes we did all of the redstone, we started work on the piston feed tapes and all that sort of thing, then in between that, I learned how to terraform, which is what we have going on over here, which looks very nice indeed. Thank you ever so much to Iskal. And then we came back to this project, finished it up, and also did some extra terraforming to top it all off. Then in the previous episode of Hermitcraft, we ended with doing some villager trading and getting a ton of items. So that pretty much takes us up to date. I have run through all of the different things that we have done on the Hermitcraft server, all of the different builds that I've worked on. There are a few different bits and pieces that I have missed out, but other than that, I think that is pretty much everything. So for those of you who are new to the Hermitcraft series, I hope that keeps you up to date and you now know what's going on. For those of you who have watched it all the way through, I hope that was a really nice refresher for you, because I actually forgot some of the projects that I worked on. So I'm really glad that I've done this video. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I've got time for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please sure to hit that like button. And if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Mumbo, and I'm out. I'll see you later.